Alright, I am live, it looks like. If anyone, doesn't look like anyone's really watching, but if someone signs on, go ahead and say something in the chat. Gonna just do a discussion about if you want to get into Renaissance gaming. This is another video I recorded a while ago, or recently, not a while ago. Lost the sound, so I've been having some issues with that recently. So I'm going to take a look at Warlord first, because they have a pretty good range. Renaissance, you're talking a pretty big period in terms of what people consider it for wargaming, so I think the beginning part of this, we'll just look at like Italian wars, and early Ottoman wars, since that's sort of my area. So Warlord has a pretty good selection of stuff for Italian wars and like early imperialists. We were just looking at the Landsknecht set. Now, I've read on the miniatures page, people say that the Landsknechts for Italian, the plastic Warlord Landsknechts are not like look more fantasy, but these are molds they bought from a like different companies, so they're a bit better. I think that's the story, at least. And these are all metal, kind of pricey at $200. But I mean, much better than Games Workshop, and you get free shipping because of Black Friday. So yeah, I mean, not much really to say about this. Pretty good army if you want to do Italian Wars early to, well, up to the end, really. If you want to do Italian Wars, obviously, and if you want to do the Ottomans up to, I would even say like 1560s, like Siege of Sigetvar, when Suleiman was wounded. You could probably get away with using these as well. One of the great things about Renaissance too is you can use like Landsknechts like this for really any nation. Just swap out flags, or don't put a banner on them. I mean, even but these guys look really sharp. I haven't done Landsknechts just because they are really expensive. Let me look at the stream. Okay, we got one viewer, it says. Okay. Well, we'll just keep going. So that's what they've got. Landsknechts, you can use them for pretty much a lot of nations during the Italian Wars, because you can use them for French. French used a lot of Swiss mercenaries, so, and Landsknechts were kind of a copy of the Swiss mercenaries, essentially. With some, they kind of developed their own stuff over time, but and then this, I believe these are the plastics. Let me see. 3 bundles of Landsknechts. These are, yeah, plastic. These are the ones people claim are more like fantasy. I don't know really what they mean by that, though. So, and sometimes wargamers can be a bit fickle with that sort of thing. I think it's probably just the scaling, if I had to guess. I don't really see what's wrong with these. I mean, they're a little more heroic scaled, it looks like. But I'm not a big Italian Wars expert in terms of Landsknechts, and the information is pretty hard to find. So, let's see, what else do we have? A lot of Warlord has a lot of stuff. Oh, they get the Osprey book, Lands Next Soldier. I should probably check that out. I'm just leery of Osprey books because they can be hit or miss in terms of the quality. You get the missile troops. I'm just taking a sip of some coffee there. Yeah, I mean, they're Landsnecks. Not much more to say other than, you know, if you want to do Italian wars, this is what you're going to want for your imperialists, and if you want to do Swiss mercenaries for the French. And then I will look up, there's a book, I mentioned it in previous videos. Let me see if I can find it. Let's just go, it's on Google Books. I'm trying to find the, here we go. This is from the publisher. This is a review. But this is the title of the book. So it's Mallet, Michael Mallet. So he passed away, and then this other academic researcher, Dr. Shaw, she completed the book. Really approachable book on the Italian Wars. Gives a pretty good overview. A little dry in places, but it's like the only... I'll just go on the Google Books listing. Yeah, so this is what the cover looks like. As you can see, you've got, you know, this period painting. You got your pikemen. I assume that French, I'm thinking. Or Swiss and French service, because you got your gendarmes. Oh, actually, no, those are probably, yeah, imperialists if they've got the double-headed eagle flag, so interesting. And that looks like a Spanish flag. I'm not sure, though. Okay, so, yep, pretty self-explanatory. Great book. Pricey, though, but you can find this in PDF online. Not on Google Books. You can find the full PDF. I have a copy myself for my own reference, and you've got, because one day I would like to be able to teach this as like a course, maybe, and work in like look at it from the angle of a wider war in this early part of the 16th century. So you've got the Italian Wars as one front, and the Ottomans as like the other front of this bigger conflict between basically the Habsburg Empire and a combined French and Ottoman Turkish coalition. I think that would be a more interesting way to frame it. So yeah, this is a table of contents. So it's comprehensive, but it's not too long. I think that's a good, they strike a pretty good balance. And then you've got a general chapter 7, I think, if you just want to get into it, into terms of gaming. This section is really, really valuable. And the previous, yeah, so chapter, let me see, yeah, chapter 6 and chapter 7. So, you know, if you don't want to sit and slog through all this, and you just want to know, what do I need to game, you know, and you want to get, maybe read up on the battles later, this is going to explain everything. And then it picks back up with the narrative. Kind of an odd organization, just a little criticism on my part. I would have, if I was writing this, I probably would have put this nearer to the beginning, but anyway. Excuse me, that's just me. So we've got yeah, I should probably get around to finishing this. I did not finish it when I was reading through it, because I was trying to take notes and I got burnt out. So yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good crash course on the Italian Wars. And then there's also a book, and I've mentioned this on previous videos, Art of War in the 16th is, just take a look at the cover. Yeah, this is the reprint edition. This is an older edition. Oh, I like that cover better. Yeah, this book was originally written in the 30s. Kind of dated now, not because Oman was bad or anything, just because he just was doing his best, and it was harder to get access to sources. Pre-internet and in the 30s when he's writing this. So again, kind of dry in places. That's the unfortunate thing about history writers. They're not always the most gifted page-turning authors, but again, not to trying to bash Oman, just a observation. But this is good. The Ottoman section's not as good. Just kind of the Mohawks chapter isn't very good. If I'm remembering correctly, I should probably revisit it and might do like a review on that. But there's really not a book like this out there, which is unfortunate. That because it's a pretty long book. He covers. And this one's pretty old, so you can definitely probably find a free PDF someplace. But let's take a look. Okay, this does not have an ebook. Let's take a look at... Maybe this will have a preview. Nope. Okay, but it covers like everything. Let me see if this is another edition. So... Can you go to the table of contents? Here we go. So you've got the Great Wars, so the Italian Wars, Henry VIII. Should probably revisit that. I don't remember much about that part. You got the French Wars of Religion. That was a really interesting section when I read it. I didn't really know too much. Just as an aside, because in the rest of Europe you had a lot more siege warfare, but in France it was actually the opposite. There wasn't really that many sieges, but there were. The Huguenot cities were besieged, but there wasn't that much. It wasn't like in Italy where you had a lot of heavy duty fortresses. It was kind of light fortresses, so you have siege warfare, but it was actually cavalry was a lot more dominant in France. So that's kind of interesting. You've got the Dutch Revolt against Spain, or the 80 Years' War, and the Turkish offensive against Christendom. So, that's the part that's kind of iffy. And again, that's not Oman being a bad writer or bad researcher. Just, the sources weren't available. Like the Ottoman archives didn't really open until the 80s, I think, in Turkey. So, you're dealing with incomplete sort of records. Okay, just going back to this. Okay. And got a lot. We've got more stuff from Warlord. That's for Landsnecks. Let's click on... they don't have this... I don't see the... I'm not seeing the gendarme... Oh, maybe it's on the next page. You got the Landsnecks with Zweihanders. These guys are pretty cool. I'm just a little afraid to paint up some Landsnecks. They're or you can make them with halberds. Okay, yeah, I'm just not sure I have the painting skill at the moment and the patience to do the crazy Plunderhosen clothes. Okay, let's click on. I got Wars of... Okay, this has more stuff that you can also work in, that you also kind of need if you want to do Italian Wars. So, Wars of Religion, Mounted Gendarme Brigade. So these guys, the French had a lot of gendarmes, so basically they're mounted heavy cavalry. Some of these guys have the Spanish-style helmet, and I'm not really a big expert on the Italian War, so I'm not sure. I think definitely earlier. I think the French would have worn the more heavy-duty plate mail, and you've got some mounted arquebusier. And then, of course, Ottomans, which is partly why I wanted to do this stream, because they're a pretty big part of the Renaissance world. And this box set I don't really like, because you don't get enough of one or the other. What I wish they would do, and I may be repeating myself from a previous video, is have, if I've shown this before, anyway, is have just a box that's 2 lines of Janissaries with muskets, or 2 lines with Janissaries with hand weapons, because they did have both, but in the sources, as far as I know, most of the accounts tend to say that they were like the center gun line, basically, of muskets. And a lot of times they fought entrenched. That was a big Ottoman tactic. But that'll work, I mean, for like basically the late 14th to, I don't know, like late 16th century. Now in the 17th century, the Janissary look kind of changes, and we might get to that in this little video stream. So, just give me 1 second. Just need to take a little drink. So these guys are like later 16th century. Would like to get some of these, because my Ottoman and Habsburg army, I kind of bought the wrong stuff. It's kind of an anachronistic collection, because the Imperialists I have work better for like 30 Years' War and the 17th century, that period. And these guys are more of what I was intending to do with the project, so late 16th century. But these guys will work if you want to do some like Imperial Spanish infantry, like for the Habsburgs. And if you're doing Hungarian, like Ottoman Habsburg battles, there were a lot of Spanish troops that got garrisoned on the frontier, so these guys would work really well. Yeah, they've got a bunch of different Ottoman stuff. I'm really impressed with, just the amount that they even have them at all. I really like that. Because as I often say on this channel, I feel like the Ottoman whole thing, and to a lesser extent the Holy Roman Empire, Habsburg Empire, is kind of not really wargamed as much. But anyway. I think if I was going to get some Ottomans from a warlord, I would opt for, like, this deal. So you've got the Advancing Regiment, which gives you, looks like, let's go back to it, sorry. And it is made to order. I think I have ordered some of these that are made to order, and it was a reasonable shipping time. So, looks like you get 10, well, it'll probably tell me, right? Yeah, so you get, looks like 10, so 20 Janissaries, and then you get the little command stand. They also have the firing, and then like the Janissary colors. This is something that I kind of struggle with getting good information on. I'm hoping to, as I sort of advance, hopefully in my research, I'm able to kind of pin down what the colors they wore. So they got a blue cloth to make their uniform, but sometimes that got sold, so they could, for drinking money, basically, or whatever they wanted. So they have the muskets, and yeah, same thing. It's just they're in a firing pose. And then actually, I think that the collections from Warlord I would get if I was going to do some Ottoman and Habsburg stuff, just to get like into it, or you just want to have like two armies at home to play like some smaller sized games, I would go with this collection. So you get two, $86. I think this is a decent deal for especially for metal models. So you get a little command set. You get some Spahi of the port, which I really like these. They look nice. And you get basically the Janissary boxed set. Yeah, so good deal. And then we have, let's see, looking for the Christian Defenders of Malta. That's what this set's supposed to be. So you get some gendarmes, mounted commander, which I actually have. I need to paint that guy. And you get one little, like, tercio, basically. I think this is kind of a wimpy little tercio, but anyway, I think it's, if you just want to get into it and try it out, Wargaming this period, I think if you really wanted to do this and get going, I would probably buy like two of these maybe, just so you have a decent sized force, or just get, another set of gendarme and another, infantry bucks, so you don't get two officers you don't need necessarily. Let's see, what else does Warlord have? I think we'll stick to the 16th century for this little discussion, but I will click on 30 Years' War just because I do like if they have it, let me see. Trying to find it. Infantry regiment. I bought believe I bought one of these. It's a nice little plastic box set. But the one I'm looking for is the Imperialist Infantry set. And the Ordnance Battery is also a great deal. I'll click on that real quick just because I think if you need field guns for doing Renaissance, this is like a fantastic set. You can find this for a little bit cheaper on eBay. I think I got mine for like $50, but so you get I'm scrolling through the pictures, but so yeah, it's not this isn't in there. You get the guns, the crewmen, and the resin scenic bases with the resin gabions. So you even get like a little bit of terrain, basically. You get 3 cannons and the crewmen, and if you're doing like an earlier period, you can swap the crewmen out. But I mean, I think they kind of look okay for most of, like, you could get away with it for 16th century, I think, as long as you're not playing with somebody that's too picky. And yeah, I really like this little set, which I still need to finish painting. Let me go back to this real quick. Okay. Okay, sorry for that interruption. So, what else do we have? Wallenstein's Lifeguard. I like big Wallenstein fan. I might want to get that at some point. Okay, let me just search for Imperialist. Here it is. Imperialist Infantry Regiment box set. So I really like this. I bought this for doing my Imperialists. So it's basically a generic Warlord 17th century infantry box set, but you get a ton of metal upgrade kits, so you upgrade components. So you get like I don't know if they show them in the picture though. Yeah, they don't, but you get more of like the big hats like that. I don't know what they're called. and then you get the helmets. And you get a lot more musket stands than you do in the regular plastic box, which I really like. Just because I think it just adds a bit more flavor. Yeah, great little set. Reasonably priced. So, like it says, 44. You get 44 miniatures, and it gives you enough to do the pike block and 2 wings of shot. So it's really nice. And I think that's all we'll look at from Warlord for now. Because I don't want to get too much into the weeds with the 30 Years' War 17th century, because I want to focus more on the 16th century. But just as sort of a honorable, or actually these guys would probably work for 16th century as well, because the Eastern units didn't really change that radically much in terms of their dress. So these guys would work if you want some Borderlands like Raiders, light cavalry, and Croats. You could use these for Hungarians. They call them Croat, but you could use them for Hungarian Hussars as well. And I think if I remember correctly, the Croat designation didn't necessarily mean they were always Croatian. They just meant they were from that general sort of region. So Croatia and let me open the map actually. So Ottoman Hungary. Let's see if we can find a good map. Yeah, here we go. This is a great map. So this is in Hungarian, I believe. Yeah, so you've got modern day Croatia down here, and so they would have all been from this sort of general area, which includes, Magyar, Hungarians, and, modern Croatians, Bosnians, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's Warlord. A lot of great stuff. The medals for Renaissance are a little pricier, though. I mean, that is something to consider. So let's clear that up and talk about go to the Renaissance over at Assault Group, which has some great stuff. So since we're focusing on 16th century, this is Albanian. I think these are probably new, I would think. So they got Stratiots. So this was like a kind of light cavalry that saw use in the Italian Wars. Don't know too much about them other than that. My impression is that this was sort of a general designation by like the more Western Europeans that, didn't necessarily mean they were Albanian per se, although they could have been, but it was just sort of Eastern cavalrymen. And I think the Venetians used a lot of these Stratiot cavalry. And we can go to Croat, and it's a similar thing. And again, I think you could use these for Hungarians pretty easily, for Hungarian hussars and light cavalry. It says 1610 to 1650, but I think you could use them for 16th century, late 16th century as well. But they also have at Assault Group some dedicated Hungarians. So we've got Hussar Command, light horse with bows. So this would really definitely work for 16th century because they've got the bows. And I really like all my Assault Group figures. They are really excellent. I can't recommend them enough. So let's take a look at Dutch, but we're focusing on Italian Wars and Ottomans. So these are the Valois French. So you got plenty of Swiss mercenary options. What are the dates they give on this? 1535 to 1568. Yeah, so you've got the pretty much anything you could need, I think, for an Italian Wars army. And these are the packs, but they also have these unit builder sets. So you got late Landsnecks, you've got earlier Landsnecks, Valois. Their Ottoman range is fantastic. And you've got, we can take a look real quick at, these are so you've got some with hand weapons. Now you do need to buy the pikes and spears and stuff if you order from Assault Group, you have to order that. That's sold separately, so you have to make sure you get that, but that's the only sort of issue there. I have some of these. They're really nice. Great figures. Well sculpted, and it's all white metal. And also for doing the Eastern sort of wars with the Ottomans, you can use these Polish. The Polish Hajduk can be used to represent most. This was a common type of soldier in Eastern Europe in the early modern world, so you can use them as Transylvanian. That's what Erdel is. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but yeah. So this was a semi-independent Hungarian state, sometimes kind of in the Ottoman sphere, but other times not. It goes back and forth. But, to represent sort of soldiers from this region, you can use these. Polish. I know they have some Hajduk with muskets, but you can use those. Yeah, just tons of stuff. I'm not going to go through all of these. Because it's just so much. Here we go. We get the Hajduks firing and loading and firing. Yeah, I really want to get some of these at some point, but I've just got so much to do, so much to paint, and don't really want to add too much more to the stack. Now, one thing I will say, if you really want to do an Ottoman army, these kind of guns are great. You might want to get some, but you're gonna want as well a larger siege gun or two if you really want to go all out. But again, depending on the, let me see if I can find a picture of what I'm talking about. You're going to want to find, and they do sell them. I forget who sells them though, and I haven't been able to track it down. Okay, this is from Miniatures page. So this is what I'm talking about. So these larger guns that are in these sorts of frames, so they would haul these on pack animals, and then they would kind of build the frames on location. Let me see if that'll load up from Miniatures page, because this guy, he has a blog. I forget what it's called, but it might, yeah, Camisato. He has some really excellent Ottoman stuff, and he does some 16th century. I've read this page before. Yeah, these are just excellent. But yeah, you can see, and he's got it staged, attacking a fortress. Yeah, and he's got this unfortunately grainy picture of, looks like he got the Spahi, and they used a lot of camels as pack animals. And yeah, so okay, that's not loading, but this is, what did he use? Let's see. He used Old Glory. Okay, so he removed the wheels, and okay, interesting. And he says he's used some non-Turks to reflect that Ottomans regularly use foreign specialists for those guns, which is true. You had both. You had Turks and you had a lot of foreign volunteers and mercenaries that they would hire on campaign. But yeah, this is another sort of example picture. This is one of the ones. This is used in the siege of Constantinople. And you got another illustration there. This one looks a little. That looks a little imaginative, but it might be real. I'm not 100% clear on that. But as you can, they had both. So they had the guns mounted on wheels, like we might think of when we think of a cannon. But they also had these. They had all kinds of different guns, field guns. I mean, the Ottomans were really like crazy artillery specialists of their day. Pretty incredible. Not that, the Europeans didn't have artillery or something. It's just they were really able to get a lot of it in production and onto the field, which, if you know about America and World War II, two very different things, but kind of similar in that, you can have a lot of cool, and this is a European painting with showing some like more traditional style cannon. That's Esztergom in 1543. I got to read up on that battle. There's quite a few battles I have to read up on for Ottomans. Okay. So that's more stuff from Assault Group. Another Ottoman unit that you might want to get for doing like earlier 16th century is these guys, Akinji. These were like raiders, so you got, let's see, you got bows and swords. So these guys were a lot of times, there was always like a migration or immigration from like Central Asia of Turks and Turkic tribes into the empire. And then what they did in the 16th century was 15th and 16th centuries, they would settle them out on like in the Balkans, or just send them to wherever the front lines were, so to speak, to go and raid. And they were mostly wiped out, actually. The official Akinji Corps, they were wiped out in 1595. They were just like totally massacred at this one incident. But that's a story for another time. And then Tüfekçi, you could use these for like late 16th century mercenaries, but the Tüfekçi proper would be as like a official, semi-official designation. That would be more like 17th century. So these guys would typically fight either on foot or on horseback, and they were like hired mercenaries. So kind of similar to what the Europeans had in the 30 Years' War, where you have contracting. The Ottomans sort of transitioned to that in the 17th century, instead of relying as much on expanding the Janissary Corps. So, what else? There's just so much here, and I don't want to get into the weeds, like going through every single one. Okay, Azabs, here we go. This is another interesting Ottoman unit. So these guys, so earlier Azabs would be like the spearmen that some other companies sell and call Ottoman Azabs, but they were, by the mid-late 16th century, they would have been actually kind of Marines. They guarded the rivers, on the Danube and stuff. They would guard the riverboat traffic, but you could also use them just as fortress garrison troops that are levied. What else? Kind of want to. That's a lot of Ottoman stuff. We can take a look at something else. And Tatars, mentioned them on my previous videos. Yeah, so if you want to do Ottomans, you can work some Tatars in as like auxiliary troops because they used a lot of them. And then we've got a bunch of Italian stuff. So if you want to do an Italian army for Italian wars, obviously. I do want to read up more on the Spanish sort of army in the 16th century, like the actual structure of it. I know a little bit about I know a bit more about the frontier army for the Habsburgs in the east, but the Spanish troops were really effective. I mean, one of the top, probably the top Western military of their day. Got pikemen, conquistador unit. I think we've even got Aztecs, which is, I've always thought it would be fun to do, like an Aztec and Spanish skirmish kind of battle. You've got Dutch. Here we go. Imperial Spanish Tercio unit. I would get this, I think, at some point to do like 16th century. This is probably a little bit better than that warlord Christian besiegers we looked at. So you get 24 metal miniatures, and you get the musketeers, and you get you get musketeers and the pike block. But you do have to buy the pikes separately. So anyway, just a little aside. But yeah, I think I would probably get these at some point to represent a Spanish unit garrison that's either fighting in Italy or even in the East. So I think that's about it for Assault Group. We can. They've got a lot of stuff. I haven't even looked at their other ranges that much. They've got Asia, Vietnam, ultra modern, medieval. We looked at that. Fantasy. Huh. I don't have much listed for that, but you could probably just use the... What are the dwarfs? These guys look pretty cool. Boar Knight. Huh. Okay, well, I kind of said the stream was going to focus on Renaissance stuff, so won't get too sidetracked. This is later, obviously, 17th century, but I just couldn't pass up taking a look at the by fire and sword range, because these models look really nice. I haven't bought any. I would like to, but I would prefer if there was like some people in my area to actually play this game with. So these are 15 mil figures, and they have rules for them that this company makes. It's a Polish company, but I mean, conceivably you could use them for anything. So yeah, these are like later 17th century. You got Holy Roman. There's no bigger picture, but it looks like you got some pike, musket, a couple pike blocks, some muskets, commander, and like a standard bearer. Well, you can read it on the side. They've just got a ton of stuff. Oh yeah, and they use D10s, so it's a slightly different system. And then they've got Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. That's a interesting nation. I have a book about that, actually, that I should probably finish at some point. If you haven't been able to tell, I start a lot of things and I have trouble finishing. So, yeah, Oxford History of Poland-Lithuania, Volume 1, which is really good. I'm about halfway through it when I left off. Making of the Polish-Lithuanian Union, 1385 to 1569, which is a little before these miniatures, but interesting book nonetheless. It's by a historian named Robert Frost, so really great book. I recommend it. Sorry about that. And you've got, of course, the winged hussars are in here, the famous winged hussars. Yeah, here we go. Which is kind of debated if they actually wore the wings in battle. One of those little academic wet blanket things, I guess. Oh, they've got the Heroes of the Cienquist, I guess that's how you say that, trilogy, which I tried to read the first book, which is called With Fire and Sword, but it's called Polish Gone with the Wind, so it's really, really long, but kind of entertaining. I didn't finish it, though. It's just too much, and oh, they also have Transylvania, which is interesting. So they've got the Sekli cavalry. That's interesting. So the Seklers were German ethnic. They were like ancestral Germans that settled in. Let's go back to our map. That settled like in Hungary and then later in like this region. I would like to learn more about them. It's just so hard with this. A lot of this Eastern European Renaissance history because it's like not in English and it's hard to find easily. And they've got some Hungarian hijouks, and these are all 15 mil, like I said. So if you want to do like a smaller scale, I think this is a great option. I would like to get my hands on some of these figures to take a look at them and work on them, but I've already got enough going on hobby-wise and life-wise, so yeah. And let's see how long we've been going here. We've been on for about an hour. This has been going kind of long. Taking a look at this again. Sorry to see the ugly back end of things. What else? What other? We can take a look at Wargames Foundry. Pike and Shot, late Renaissance Polish. So this is Italian Wars stuff. These look pretty good. I think these are an old, back when Games Workshop did like a bunch of different miniature ranges, including historicals, which was like way, way before, I was probably even alive. I think this was like the 80s, I want to say, when they first got started as a company. I think that's what these are from. So we've got a bunch of different knights, a bunch of different cannon. These cannon look really great. I might want to get some of these at some point to do for Ottoman guns, and then just buy separate crewmen, or just have them as sort of hired crewmen. Got a bunch of different Landsnecks. Yeah, I think this would be a great option for doing Italian Wars. And, how could I, let's see, Perry Miniatures, Miniatures. Here we go. Nope, not found. Okay, let's go back to, it's not, anyway, well, I can find the picture. So these are from Perry Miniatures, and this is I would prefer to go to their website, but yeah, these are their plastic. So it says 1450 to 1500, but you could really use these for like early Italian Wars. I think if I got these, I would paint these up as the black. Let's see if we can find a picture. the Black Army of Hungary, which was in the late 15th, early 16th century, the professional, basically the professional standing army that the Hungarian Kingdom of Hungary had. Trying to see if there's any like woodcuts or anything, but I don't see anything. But here's a good map of like their campaigns. So they were really effective, as you can see with Matthias Corvinus. The Hungarian kingdom was very militarily effective. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any other pictures, but I can't. But you also see one of the problems with let's see if we can just go to this map, with Hungary in that period of time, is there's a ton of succession problems. That's why they were weakened, and the Ottomans were later, about two decades after this, able to capitalize on that, because you can see Sultan Bayezid is kind of working his way into the kingdom, and this gives you like a little bit of a summary. So definitely a difficult period for the kingdom, and yeah, again, I wish I could find a period image. That looks like the best bet. They've got black armor on. I don't know how accurate. Let's see, this is a Reddit link. Yeah, I guess they have black clothing and armor. Where did this guy get his information from? Not to be a source policing guy. I think that's very annoying, especially if you're just trying to get into like a hobby or something. But I'm gonna assume this is probably researched. But again, this is something that hopefully I can learn more about in the original language, and get some better information about, because it's hard to do in English. Yeah, so let's look at this. Okay, this has been going for a little while. What if we look at Matthias Corvinus? All these Pinterest links. This Google image search is very difficult, I'm finding. You can't just look at the pictures. That's why I normally use Bing. Anyway. Yep, so, but again, I think this is a pretty versatile kit. This is another one I'd like to work on eventually. Get some of these guys to do a Hungarian Black Army. And let's see, has he done anything new? Just curious. Oh, great, he's doing some Hungarians. Okay. So... interesting. He's done some research on it. I will probably take a look at this later. But yeah, this guy's blog is really fantastic. He's done a lot of fantastic Renaissance stuff. I hope I can get my stuff to look this great eventually. But admittedly, I'm also I like to get things done after a while, and don't necessarily like to have, everything looking like studio quality necessarily. But, I mean, if you can get to this level, I mean, this is just superb. Okay. Yeah, so I think I'll wrap this up here. If you are a normal subscriber and you watch this later, obviously not a lot in the chat. I wanted to do kind of a Q&A maybe, but that's understandable. I don't have that many of you as subscribers, but that's, again, not complaining, just stating a fact. So what else did I want to talk about? That's about it. I think I will wrap things up here. And if you guys watch this later and you like it, let me know. Just trying to do some new things on the channel and break up the formula, as it were. Excuse me. But if this was something you guys enjoyed, me just talking through stuff, again, leave me a comment. And if you're interested, I can do this again as sort of a Q&A type of thing. And yeah, that's about all I've got to say for tonight. Don't want this to go on for, if I had, if in the future I do get more of y'all subscribed and want to hop on and do a little Q&A type of thing. That might be, we'll go for a little longer maybe, but yeah, I think I'll just wrap it up here. Hope you enjoyed it if you watch this later, which, pretty much most of you will. And as you can see, anyway, not trying to be a downer, so I'll just wrap it up and talk to you all next time.